Okay, I want to create the orthographic views for this object that's in the isometric, but I also want to include an auxiliary view so that we can dimension this object here. I'm gonna start by plotting out the vertices of my front view. So I'm gonna give myself 4 spaces for dimensions, place my vertex here, and then I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units up. And then over 3 and up 3. And then from the base over 3 to a void that goes up 3, over 2, back down, over 5, and then up 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to connect the dots there to get my outer bounds. So now for my for my auxiliary view, I'm going to do it off of this incline so that I can show this feature. So I want to give myself enough space between my different adjacent views to have my auxiliary view there in the middle. So I'm going to go ahead and leave 8 spaces. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then a depth here of 4. Making sure that my points are all in alignment. I'm going to do the same thing on the right side, so 8 over. And then a width or a depth of 4. Align my features. All right, let's do a double check there. So these guys line up, those line up, and those line up. Across here, these line up, these line up. Whoops. Now these line up and the top one does too. I forgot this guy right here. So I'll go ahead and start on my right side. Draw my verticals, my horizontal visible lines. This one's going to be visible. And then we have a void going on in the middle. So here is 1.5 over from each side. So 1.5 from each side. And it goes up all the way to halfway through there, which is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 3.5 over. and then up. That's a distance of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to go 2.5 up. So from here, 1, 2.5. So while these edges will be visible lines, we won't actually technically see this right here. We will see a visible line here because the back doesn't have a cut through there. All right, we'll come back for some of those hidden lines in a minute. Let's go to the top and do our visible lines. So our two edges and our peak here, and then we'll have other features of this one right here. That's going to be a hidden line underneath this visible line, so it won't show up. Our other one is going to be here. This one's going to be a hidden line for this doorway here. And then we have our void in the middle here, so that's going to go up 3.5 to get to that halfway point. And it's 1.5 up from each side. So those are going to be all visible lines for this face here, but we won't actually have a visible line here because that void is there. Okay, so now we have our main void here, the hidden line's there. Here, our hidden line for this one is going to be across here. Now it'll actually show up, it may show up as a visible edge. Let's mark this as the halfway point. So we got 1, 2, 3.5, 2.5. So that's gonna go right to this midpoint. As a hidden line. So then we will see this edge for just this half of it. So this will be a visible line. Now here, that's our line there. But we will have this peak back here that'll show up as a hidden line going all the way across. Okay, so now let's return to the top view here. We have these features that show up as a hidden line, but now we have this feature that we need to include. So it's going to go all the way back to this halfway point. We will have a hidden line going all the way across where this void cut stops. So all of this is going to be a void in the middle here. And then where that cut goes from here to here, it'll also be a hidden line. All right, so let's do a real quick check. Make sure all of our features have been associated to each of the views. So here we have this one, hidden line under the visible, hidden line, regular. Here we have it as visible and hidden on the other two sides outside the void. We do have this edge in the back showing, this roof peak showing as a hidden line, and then this void in the middle here showing as a hidden line. So we have all of our features now, so that's great. So let's go ahead and add an auxiliary view. So I'm going to make a folding plane line that is parallel to my incline, and then follow that up with a view of what is going to be kind of a intermediary between my top and my side here, that's going to show my depth in true dimensions. We're going from, to make this parallel, I'm going to go from this corner, go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We should be right here. My line's a little off, so let me fix that. Make sure I'll have, and then for depth here it is 1 inch, but then we're scaling it, so, but based off of the dimensions being the same here, I can go 1 inch up. And along those parallel lines again. So then this one's going to be a little harder to get the measurements for. It was 1.5 units over. So if you look at that in terms of inches, that would be taking your inch, dividing it into fourths. So it would be 1 and then 1/2, so it would be 1/4 and then 1, so we got 1/8. So 3/8. And then halfway up this object, which we're looking at 2 1/4, so it would be 1 1/8 to get to our feature in the middle here. So again, if I was doing the dimension on this, this is 1 1/8, so that would be times 4 to get me into that quarter scale. So that would be 4 1/2 in terms of the dimension. So remember that when you're doing a partial auxiliary view, you're just showing what's going on at the top surface. You're not showing anything going on in the background or hidden lines. That's a full auxiliary view. So we just did a partial here. And technically my folding line should be halfway between here. So I'm going to go ahead and just clean that up a little bit just to make sure that that is clear. a little more like that. And so that gives us our fully drawn out orthographics with auxiliary view. Remember, when you're doing the dimensions, this is key for what we want to dimension on this drawing in terms of our auxiliary view. So don't do the foreshortened surfaces. Just dimension them as the true value on your auxiliary.